And then, like, whenever you do see healings, which I've since then, it's been, I mean, sometimes I'll go to Africa or here in the U.S. I mean, I definitely want to squash that. More things happen in Africa.
Yeah.
That's not true. Sorry, it ain't true.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen as much deliverance here and healings here as I see over there.
Yeah.
It's just the same. And all of it, and also people are just as messed up over there.
Yeah.
There's their church is way healthier.
Yeah.
I actually think it's often the very opposite.
Yeah.
I see some very unhealthy churches on that.
Kingdom's available everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
not bound to one continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
the world
so
everywhere.
it's so but they're poor, but they don't have as many medical options. It's just like all that stuff is just
excuses.
Yeah,
it's excuses. But that's the other thing. When the season of me stepping into healing, it was like 2 years of dismantling every belief I've developed about why it doesn't happen. Because none of them hold water.
Yeah.
Like they literally don't. Why? I've had Christians that have said, like, who are you to say that you have authority over demons? Like, well, Jesus said, I'm going to give you authority. He's like,
right.
but that was the 12. I was like, so Christ in me, the hope of glory.
Yeah.
But then even the 72, by the way.
Well, do you know what?
72.
Do you know
which
what?
Abandoned him.
Yeah.
They all abandoned him. It's like, I mean, they're messed up too.
Well, that whole questioning right there of it, what is beautiful about your story is, like, you'll sit there and ask the Lord, like, let's do something together. Like, show me a vision of this lady.
Yeah.
Like you're testing him on it for him to show himself. So it's like, do I have the authority to cast out demons? If I do, present me with it.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I mean, I've heard deliverance stories before that, and they really, really freaked me out.
Yeah.
I would say this. I've heard other people that have experienced deliverance. At this moment, I might be experiencing a little bit of fear. Probably not very much. Like, how's this audio gonna go? How's this? Am I presenting myself well?
Yeah.
There's room for an ounce of fear.
Yeah.
I don't think I have it, but if you ask me, there may be a little insecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to see me at a time when Lewis seriously has no fear, like crazy, and ain't there, it's when I'm casting out a demon.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably nuts.
Yeah.
You're in your vein.
Yeah.
In the vein, but like the Holy Spirit is so like churning.
Yeah.
And it's so serious. I mean, the first experience, and I'm really setting on him. There's other experiences I go through, but I remember me bawling my eyes out at how much I love this guy.
Yeah.
And he is totally manifested, and I'm like nose to nose at him. And my whole team was like 10 feet away.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? They see this guy not moving while this other crazy man is trying to punch me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm face to face with him. I could have 2 inches closer, I would have kissed him.
Yeah.
And I looked at him square in the eyes, zero fear, because they was totally like their everything shifts.
Yeah.
Like their eyes shift. Like know when you're not talking to this individual.
Yeah.
His name's Clement. I don't think he'll hear this.
Yeah.
You never know.
Most likely not. But like, when it's not Clement.
Yeah.
I looked this thing so close in the eye.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're coming out."
Yeah.
And I was just so in love.
Yeah.
With the unlovable and the human standard.
Yeah.
And just so pumped.
Yeah.
And just looking at it like, you are coming out.
Yeah.
And just like the fearlessness was insane.
That's what I feel like when people really kick into the very thing that God created them. Like how you're so incredibly uniquely designed. When you're in that pocket, you really are your true self.
Yeah.
You really can't. It's like there's no other thoughts that are coming. It's just like I'm locked and loaded here.
Yeah.
And there ain't nothing else.
Yeah.
Like just how the Lord was. I feel like that's how the Lord got with people.
Yeah.
He became locked and loaded. Instantly, it was like, I'm present. I'm here with you. And fear doesn't exist when you're in the present moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. It's
because there was so much value in what was being right there in front of you.
And this false humility also. It's like, I am that second lion. Like I'm just going to identify with that second lion and be okay.
Yeah.
And mess up at times and bring that lie in subjection to truth. And I'm like, well, truth is that I was being silly. And honestly, in terms of breaking patterns of sin, nothing creates a pattern more than shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that shame is like, the way I'll describe it is, it's like, if I'm dirty, if you throw more dirt on me, what do I care?
Right.
But if I'm clean,
Yeah.
I don't want a speck on me.
Yeah.
If I'm in a white suit,
Yeah.
then don't throw some dust on my ankle.
Yeah.
You're going to notice.
Right.
I don't want that dust. But if I'm covered and, look like I just came from a mine,
Yeah.
I've been shoveling coal all day,
Yeah.
then throw a whole heap of dirt on me.
Who
What's the
cares?
difference? Who cares? I already feel gross.
Yeah.
I already have that shame caked on me. Throw some more.
Yeah.
And you try to get clean through religion, and that just doesn't work.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other word I had, and this took a couple of years for him to show me what he was doing. I've had so many experiences with the Lord at a very young age in my Christian walk, but there's one experience that I do like to share in these type settings.
Yeah.
And because this is the cool thing, it's like when it's him, every time I see healing, it's just like they may react like, I didn't know this happened anymore, or I look for four things. They're either very fearful, very surprised, very confused, or very happy.
Yeah.
If you're not one of those varies, I'm not convinced you're healed.
Yeah.
Like I've had so many people like, oh I'm healed.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
just like, I don't think so. And then I'll keep praying.
Yeah.
And then you'll see this, one of those reactions come out. It's like, oh my gosh, God's real, or like, how did this happen, or why is this not? Yeah. So I look for those varies, but every time they react, it's always back to him.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm not a super Christian. This is what all of us have access to.
Yeah.
This is what I've been bought with the exact same blood.
Yeah.
See with me.
Yeah.
See this with me.
Yeah.
Just don't have this false humility of, wretched man.
Yeah.
Like, that's so taken out of context, and you have to take Romans 6 and 8 together, and that blows it out of the water.
Right.
Don't read Romans 7 without including 6 and 8.
Yeah.
But I had this experience that kind of emphasizes this, and I had to sit on it for about a year. It really actually kind of not creeped me out, but it really was weird. So I've had so many experiences of like the encounter of this presence of the Lord, but I had this experience where it wasn't a presence external. It was something, it was like me. And that, like, please hear me right. And I had to sit on it for so long because even saying that just felt awkward. Like, Lord, is this you?
Yeah.
Because this doesn't feel like you. This feels so different than encountering your presence. And at first, it made me so uncomfortable. I would just like get up and like get out of it. Like, what is that? And just didn't know what to do with it. And then I started to say, okay, Lord, what are you trying to show me? And what I would describe is once I start sitting in it and experiencing it, it felt like crazy power. My whole being is surrounded by crazy power.
Yeah. And
if you could take an invisible pencil, I mean, I could draw exactly where the line would be.
Yeah.
Like it was nuts. It's like, it's not here. It's here. It's not here. This is the line.
Yeah.
And if you could sketch in thin air what I was feeling, lack of a better expression, it would look just like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a big Hulk fan, but that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
And so I'm experiencing this for about a year, and I'm like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's you. If it's you, I want it. But he had to teach me through that. What I realized, that's all of his kids.
Yeah.
He was letting me experience my authority.
Yep.
This is what you've got. You are a atom bomb in the kingdom and in dark places of Africa, wherever you're at. But think of it this way. This is what I believe he was trying to teach me, because I kind of already knew that.
Yeah.
So he was just affirming me in that. But then I realized this. with demonic doctrine, if I actually know personally, if I know the Hulk, like take the character the Hulk,
Yeah.
and he's a dangerous dude, and if he were to punch you, like he's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
But what if he thought he was weak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if he didn't realize he was the Hulk?
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, he's not dangerous.
Yeah.
He's weak. He's feeble. It's in his mind.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he carries. And so if I flinch at him, he's just gonna flinch back, and he's gonna buckle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's gonna retreat. So what better than for a devil to convince God's church
Yeah.
that they're weak, they're inadequate, wretched are you?
Mm-hmm.
Take the title of wretched rather than son.
Yeah.
They're making all of us think that we're powerless.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's a lie.
Yeah.
The reality is it is crazy authority.
Yeah.
Christ in me, hope of glory, sitting at the right hand of Father in Christ
Yeah.
is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And devils are terrified.
Yeah.
And I'll share one more story, and then we can ask questions or whatever, see where it
Yeah, yeah.
goes. I may share another story after this, but this one's hitting me.
Do it.
So it was a trip in Africa, and I had a really cool day. Like it was like I've seen so many people healed on certain days, but this day was unique.
Mhm.
It was just like words of knowledge, healings, all crazy stuff. And it was like the one day in my life that if the Apostle Paul was with us, he would have been like, that was awesome. Like that was a good day. Like it was
Yeah.
just like straight out of Acts. Like it was
Cool.
amazing. And and that evening, I mean, it was just the most spiritual warfare day of my life. That evening, I was in a hotel. I was flying out the next day, and I was asleep in my bed, and somebody jumped on my bed. And while I was asleep, my very first thought was that I was getting robbed.
Yeah.
And I turned quickly expecting a knife in front of my face to take my belongings. And so asleep, something jumped on my bed, and it was like a full jump, like a full-grown man just jumping at the foot of your bed.
Hmm.
It almost, it was that abrupt. When I turned, about 1 foot in front of my face was a devil. And it was the first time I've ever seen one.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't horns, it was like a dark shadow.
Yeah.
But it was like a being that in itself was nothing but shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like right in front of me. I mean, and it also looks like all the evil you can think. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a dark shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It was there for about 2 seconds and then pew, like took off like super fast. But they're way long enough for me to see what it was.
Yeah.
And I would say I was a little startled.
Mhm. Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite thing to disrupt my
Yeah.
sleep.
I was going to ask you, what'd you feel when you saw him?
Nothing.
There wasn't a feeling that
Yeah.
he tried to project to you?
Nope, nothing like that. And that was the cool thing.
Hmm.
I decided I didn't wake up and go through a prayer warrior experience.
Yeah.
I went to bed.
Yeah.
I had a long day.
Yeah.
I didn't need to do anything. I went to bed, like, I'm just going to go to sleep. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I woke up, and I was very pumped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was very pumped because I realized after going to all these altars the day before, all these words of knowledge, all this kingdom wrecking
Yeah.
ball, this kingdom wrecking ball that happened the day before,
Yeah.
seriously wrecking ball, the best he could do was to try to scare me.
Yeah.
That was his last shot.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I can't touch him. He's not giving me a place.
Yeah.
And that's the big deal.
Yeah.
If your conscience
right.
is shaking when you're getting in deliverance, back up.
Yeah.
Don't get into it.
Yeah.
If your conscience is shaking, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But they couldn't touch me.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and this is the thing I hit really hard, and we didn't even get into sickness and all. But I've told a lot of people in Africa that because they're afraid of coming out of witchcraft and
Yeah.
voodoo because they're afraid of what Satan's
The
going to do.
repercussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tell them my rap sheet,
Yeah.
and I tell them
Hmm.
if Satan could kill me,
Yeah.
I'd be dead.
Yeah.
And I say that strong and loud, and it used to make
Right.
my wife very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the reason, though, it makes us uncomfortable, not just my wife, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's just like us. But the reason we're uncomfortable about that, and there was a time I was uncomfortable talking like that.
Yeah.
But the reason is we don't actually believe it.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, like I kind of believe that, but I'm not going to say it
I gotta
because I don't
test
want
it.
to target on me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to to tempt the devil.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to make our church come alive.
Absolutely.
Like stop living in fear.
Yeah.
And I'll also say if God is placing sickness on people to teach them something,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a lot of stuff going on by now.
Yeah.
Because I go way heavy against that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never saw Jesus do it.
Right.
I never see. There's a time of sin and death, and there's a time of new covenant.
Yeah.
In Christ, in the beloved, I'm looking at the high def persona of God through Christ. That's
Right.
what He is, and every time it was healed all.
Yeah.
All
by
who came
by his
100.
stripes,
by His stripes,
Yeah.
you are healed.
all came. All were healed. Nobody was tapped on the shoulder. He came to give sight to the blind, release the captives, set the captives free,
Yeah.
cleanse the lepers. The most
Absolutely.
brilliant thing of that,
Mm-hmm.
Old Covenant, if I touch a leper, I get sick.
Yeah.
New Covenant, if I touch a leper, he's cleansed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's flipped.
Yep.
Why would he put leprosy when we're in the covenant of freedom?
Yes.
Why would he touch people if like, oh, I touched this leopard and he's cleansed, I'm going to touch you and you're going to get leprosy because I'm going to teach you something.
Yeah.
First off, I've never seen fruit
Yeah.
in that place.
Yeah.
I see confusion.
Mhm.
I see hurt. And a lot of people say, well, that was my experience. I got serious about God because I got sick. It's like, well, what if you didn't have a life-threatening disease and you just got serious about God?
Yeah. Right.
What if you if you turn to Him, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't think you had to get sick for that to
No.
happen. Your heart turned to Him. Yeah, that's better than not.
Yeah.
But you certainly didn't need to get sick for that.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to know something? With a lot of the stuff I've studied about the human body, right? It's kind of brilliant though, because that's actually your body saying, hey, you're not dealing with something. If you're manifesting like illness,
Mhm.
it's because you're not actually aligning your beliefs.
Yep.
You're actually in contrast. And it's like, dude, you did that to yourself. Don't put that on God.
Yeah.
Because you hadn't at
Yeah.
that point been willing to look at something.
Yeah.
It's your body. Like that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with God at all.
Yeah.
Or someone smokes for 20 years and they say, why did God give me cancer? Like, you smoked
Yeah.
for 20 years.
It's cause and effect.
Yeah.
It's literally cause and effect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the kingdom, the cause and effect has it's a different table.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the cause and effect is like, yo, you are powerful. You can cause the effect for other
Mhm.
people, not other people are then causing an effect towards you.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it's the victim mentality of like external things are
Mhm.
affecting me.
Yeah. Well, they
Or like God did this to me.
yeah.
But really it's like, yo, you can change everything on the outside.
And what
Yeah.
the attack is we're to become imagers of God.
Yeah, we are.
We are.
yeah.
The attack, they can't fully make us not imagers of God, but they can certainly twist us up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they
By they, I
can
mean
alter
the
your
devil.
your perspective.
So much bad doctrine of demons are designed to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So many people are called heretics because they're aligning themselves to look like Him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus was a heretic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He didn't do things the way they liked to.
yeah, the
Right.
Pharisees, Sadducees, they didn't like him
Yeah.
because he looked like Yahweh himself.
Yeah.
Well, people, when they get sick or whatever that is, they misconstrue that as, oh, God did this and it led to repentance or whatever. But really, they just kind of got where they were going. And then they're like, well, this sucks. Like, you look for, well, what's more meaningful, or like, what's
Yeah.
the point? It just gets you to the point of like, okay, well, I'm let down. The world's let me down. Like,
Totally.
oh,
And the thing is also, it's like, we need to be okay saying, I don't understand.
yes.
And we have prayed. We're going to continue.
Uh-huh.
Why you're not healed, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to do is Well, I mean, and this is a funny thing. It's like we want to give an answer when there's not one, but very often the people that say that, whenever they hear a testimony of an actual healing, they get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so you prayed because you believed, yet you hear a testimony and you can't believe.
Yeah.
So, and it's not what we pray for, it's what we believe.
Yes.
Totally.
Prayer without belief is really spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
And it has to be connected with belief. It's like whosoever believes. I hear all these people say, well, we prayed. It's like, okay, well.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about belief. Yeah. Your belief is not your conscious mind.
Yeah.
Your belief is not what's happening in your prefrontal cortex. Your belief is what's happening in your subconscious. Yeah. It's how your body is responding to it. If you've got fear and you're like, no, I don't have any fear. I believe. It's like, no, dude, your body is telling you got fear.
Yeah.
You're like, your subconscious and your conscious mind have to come into alignment. They have to agree.
And the other side of this also, and just being really patient with the people that just like, look, guys, I've not heard this spoken at church.
Yeah.
I've heard too many times, every denomination thinks they understand what 95% of other denominations don't.
Right.
This type language, sadly, often gets very campy. And we get in our own camps.
Yeah.
And so they're at the same time as like, I get we're all in the struggle of faith.
Yeah.
I get we don't understand why we see sickness and why we don't. And I think there's answers to those things. I think we can first acknowledge that and say, hey, I'm praying. I don't know why, but I'm not seeing breakthrough. But my example is scripture and seeing breakthrough, not my experience of the 2 times I prayed and say it's no longer for today.
Yeah.
That I think is silly.
Right.
At the same time.
That's a justification for not having an experience.
Yeah. And
not seeing it.
And I think like we that are talking to a crowd that we don't know who all's listening, it also needs to be careful not to also get campy.
Yeah.
Because our whole thing is to say, guys, like, well, it's like it is not for this camp, it's to draw everyone to the Father.
Yeah.
Because all of us
That's right.
whenever we're seeing something, it's very easy in the flesh to create a camp and start to circle ourselves around, a podcast that all agrees with us, with each other. But what always needs to be happening is creating a bridge.
Yeah.
Totally.
And just be like, hey, it's hard answers, but hard answers are stared at in the face.
Yeah.
Like whenever in Matthew 17, where the guys prayed for the leper to be cleansed, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And when they asked why did you pray, and then Jesus prayed and he was cleansed. Sorry, the epileptic. Epileptic. And why couldn't we cast it out? And Jesus' response, which a lot of people don't like to hear, was he responded whenever he was asked to pray, because the other guys did, his followers did, nothing happened. He said, you perverse and faithless generation. How long do I need to bear with you?
Yeah.
Perverse means you know what's right and you habitually do what's wrong. Corruption, that deceitfulness. It's not a works thing. It's not a righteousness thing. It's a
twisted perception.
Step in your identity to see.
Yeah.
And you will grow.
Yeah.
And then they ask, well, what do we need to do? And he says, this one comes through faith and prayer and fasting. I think what that ultimately means is intimacy.
Yeah.
This one comes through, you got to get some real daddy time. And it's ultimately knowing where you're at. But in the pursuit of that, what I personally do is I read that. And the reason I share that is because I don't want to read that and say, oh, I don't understand that. I'm just going to move on. I look at myself in the face and I say, I pray a lot and I don't see breakthrough sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to conclude that I don't see all that I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, well, I get it, because that's what we often do.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. And we're offended by anybody that's going to say otherwise. But
yeah,
I'd just rather be a little bit humble and say, Daddy, I don't get it.
Yes.
You know, I think I can see more. And whether it's perversity in my life that I just let me walk on such a straight path.
Yeah.
That so honors you, that so keeps everything pure.
Yeah.
And that I can step into stuff that I couldn't fathom myself stepping into before.
Yeah.
Just kingdom moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that humility of I don't understand. I think that humility and then the yes in your heart is far grander and way more free than an absolute of like, this is why it didn't work.
No.
Or why, or even the question of why didn't. It's like, I don't care.
It's very presumptuous.
Don't care. God's good. I'm a son. I don't understand everything. I'm following him. That's it.
And we're basing something. I mean, do we all seriously think we're Job? And God's like, hey, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one. Like, there's 6 billion of us on the earth. We're all dealing with life, and God's like calling out every single one, saying, go after this one. So God's subcontracting the devil to sick him on us. And it's just, there's a place for Job that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But we way twist it up.
Yeah.
And we say, oh, what about 2 Corinthians 12:12? Have you read the book?
Yeah.
It's like, that's all persecution.
Yeah.
The entire book is talking about persecution.
Mm-hmm.
They get to chapter 12 and we say, oh, it must be sickness. Where did you get that? He said, a devil came to sift me, came to box me.
Yeah.
And the word actually means box, buffet.
Mm-hmm.
Buffet means, he sent a messenger of Satan to buffet me. That word actually means box. And that sickness? Start with
interesting
the first chapter,
and
then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's persecution, because the whole book is about persecution.
Yeah.
The whole one.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing they try to stand on, New Testament wise.
Yeah.
He promised freedom and persecution.
Yeah.
And this was persecution, I believe.
Yeah.
And if I get sick, I also don't want to get religious.
Right.
And say, well, I'm not really sick.
Yeah.
I just have a fever of 104, but it
yeah,
ain't real.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird too.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Or like,
I mean, we were both sick like 2 weeks ago, and it's just like, what is there to be had in this?
It's like everything is a moment for growth, and you can either choose to hold on to what you perceive to be truth, or you can see it as like, hey, there's actually something for me to grow out of, and I could even let something go here.
There's gold, there's kingdom to be extracted out of every single thing. There's daddy time. Anywhere, everywhere. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what's going on. So it's like Job stuff's going on. It's like,
I know we've hit on this before, but I want to hit on this again because I love that you brought up the Matthew 17. But the other thing about Matthew 17 is that it's also in Mark 9, right?
Yeah.
And in Mark 9, it says, when they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, and the scribes were arguing with the disciples. And so Jesus said, like, hey, this type only comes out by prayer and fasting. And one of the things that the Lord showed me was that it's actually through the true fast, which is Isaiah 58. And Jesus says, like, this is the true fast. Is this not the fast that I chose, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house, when you see him naked to cover him and not hide yourself from his own flesh? Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. And it says, if you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and speaking of wickedness, if you pour yourself out for the hungry and satisfy the desires of the afflicted, then shall your light arise in the darkness, and your gloom be as the noonday. And for me, it's like, it's so valuable that it is literally your tongue. It is what you're speaking. It is like, because the disciples were arguing with the scribes in that scenario.
Yeah, the criticism.
There was criticism. There was debate. And it wasn't about the person. It wasn't about like letting light come through. It was about this argument. And then they tried to do something. It's like, I liked what you were saying so much of, it's in your person. Is it about the Lord himself? Or is it about this debate? Is it about proving what you believe? Or is it like, no, make space for the light to shine, and bring alignment into that. Because I felt like that was just a key. It's about what we speak about. It's what is your tongue actually bridled? Are you speaking life?
Yeah.
Are you...
Well, that goes back to the 2 lions too. It's like, are you trying to like make a name for yourself or
Totally.
be right? Or is it for him,
And you can see it by the fruit of what you speak.
Yeah.
There was a time when, especially after my first deliverance experience, I mean, man, that stuff followed us at home. Our home life, it became such a crazy demonic warfare
Yeah.
in our household immediately.
Hmm.
And that's a long story. Don't need to get into it. And it was an interesting couple of years. And obviously, sometimes the devil overplays his hand. It really trained my wife and I to know
Yeah.
not to give a place. And
Yeah.
it usually comes through bitterness,
Mhm.
resentment,
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned if somebody's like, oh, I looked at something I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Do you think a door's open? I was like, well, did you close that door? Like, well, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, then I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's usually, I think, on the doors that remain open
Mhm.
is the stuff I'm worried about.
The things that you hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah, bitterness, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we experienced that a lot in our household. Wait, where was I getting at this? Oh, and in the midst of that, we were struggling. Our marriage, it was a challenge because
Yeah.
I mean that's what it was after.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
so after
Mhm.
breaking that core, and I talked to a friend of mine, a mentor, and she said, "Well, how are you praying?" And this was the most brilliant thing in my life, one of them. And I mean, what she said, but I told her, I was like, Lord help. What's happening?
Yeah.
I need somebody.
I need you. It was just like pitiful whenever I started to express, like reenact like how I pray. And she told me what I already knew. She was like, you're doing it all wrong.
Mm.
And she shifted it, and my prayer turned into, Lord, thank you for my wife.
Yeah.
Thank you that you are cultivating something that is going to be brilliant someday. Thank you that we are united in marriage, and that you are for her and you're for me and you're for us, and that we will grow through this.
Yeah.
And marriage is hard. And that's that. I'm not saying if you do this, you won't ever have a problem.
Yeah.
But 1 month later, my wife's like, what has happened?
Mm.
And it's just connecting, because it's easy to complain.
Yeah.
It's hard to have faith.
Yeah.
It's hard to pray in faith. It's easy to go, Lord, and complain.
Yeah.
Praying in faith, and just regardless of circumstances or how angry I am with whatever situation's going on, I have to let go of that and reach to something that's in the unknown, and then speak life into this situation in faith. And this is a big one. Understand that the Lord, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord is for this.
Yes.
Like, this is His will.
Yeah.
His will is for reconciliation.
Mhm.
It's not, He's not on the sideline like, I don't really care. Like, He is so for it. It's like, no, I'm actually connecting with His heart.
Yeah.
I'm saying, Lord, I am partnering with you now. It's not me trying to get Him on board. He's right there like, can you partner with me, son?
Yeah.
See this with me, son. I will be in this if you connect in truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is, He wants to see He wants to see not just deliverance. There's no deliverance needed for my wife.
No.
but
reconciliation.
Reconciliation.
Yeah.
He wants to see that.
Man.
And it shifted real quick. And now our marriage is crazy awesome.
Yeah.
And we both say all the time how amazing it is. And it was a war for a few years, very spiritual.
Wow.
I mean, there was a time when, this is another nugget that I'll try to share that taught me, but I came home one day. She may disagree when she listens to this. She came home one day, or I came home, and I could tell passive aggressive, and I said something, just acknowledging that she was passive aggressive, and man, she was ready.
Yeah.
She wanted to fight, and I was just not in the mood that day.
Yeah.
I mean, typically I couldn't help it, but for whatever reason, I was just not in the mood. And I went to my room like, nope. Just like, she was just throwing all that she could. And I just kept, nope. And I got into my room and I started praying, and it was different. I was just like, I think it's a devil. And I just went to war just by myself in my closet on that. And I was praying from a place, and it just spurred within me. And I think, honestly, it was at a place where the Lord's like, I can work with this. It was like, I can work with this. She runs into my room and says, did you hear that? And I immediately knew it was related. And I said, what? She said, that knocking. And I said, what knocking? And right on the back door, it's all glass.
Yeah.
You hear this, I mean, or something like just like loud knocks, and there's nothing there.
Uh,
And it is like vigorously knocking on the back door, and my wife and I are just staring at this glass.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there.
Hmm.
And I said, go to bed.
It's incredible.
I said, go to bed.
Yeah.
She went to bed, and the next morning, I was like, that was a devil. And I just had a serious talk with her. And I mean, she may have not saw eye to eye at that time, and whose fault was the night before.
Yeah.
But it was like, that was so clear what we were at what was going on.
Yeah.
It even makes me think like it was even like the Lord knocking, like, yo, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, knock, knock. Hey, open up. Like, don't be so defensive too. I'm saying,
yeah,
like,
maybe I thought it was the devil.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could have been, but it, like, that was instantly what I thought is like, knock, knock. I'm standing at the door knocking.
Yeah, maybe.
If you come and open and have communion with me, is like, no. I feel like that happens a lot in marriage, though, right?
Yeah.
Like
we've heard knocks before.
Yeah, but you come into like this clash moment, and it's like you either,
that way,
but you take it as like run away and go hide. Or it's like, no, this is a moment for communion.
Yes. And like even, it's like what you said earlier.
I didn't
like,
want to open the door.
Like,
I was like, don't open that.
But you did in your closet, though.
You did, though, because you found communion. You found communion with the Lord. And then eventually, like, there was reconciliation. It's like, that is communion.
When you open the door, that's when he's like, oh, I can work with this.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
In this case, I didn't feel like opening the door.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to
okay.
happen.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
I never thought of it. I always thought of it was like, no, I think that's a devil wanting.
Yeah, one in.
And I don't know. But
it could have been.
maybe.
I mean, you were in the experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think sometimes I know for myself, like, I just told James, like, Zach and I just kind of had a, the Clash of the Titans or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, okay, time out. Somebody gave me a word about that. Zach and I had another argument because we just both really like our points of view. But somebody came up to me and was like, I have a word I don't fully know, but where, she gave me that scripture of where the oxen are, the stable's not clean.
Well, there you go.
What is that? Or like, if the oxen are few, then the stable is clean, or whatever that proverb is. I was like, oh, okay, so it's messy and it's good because we're both growing.
There's growth, yeah.
Yeah, but no, we just had that where we both kind of had our fixed positions on some business stuff, so which always infiltrates like marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool because it was like, no, I either could kick into just go and do my work, or it was like, no, sit in this moment and find communion. And that was what like I chose. I chose to like, no, we're gonna work this thing out, and not me versus you, but like find communion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that happens. Sorry, I didn't mean to just run off on the marriage thing, because I was just like, yo, that resonated so deep. Because it's so valuable in life.
It's super important. And that's one story a friend of mine shared recently. A.W. Tozer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing book. Read it. Just knocks me to my knees. He had actually a bad marriage.
Really?
Yeah. And the summary of it was that it was like, so for the Lord, like he disdained money, so he wouldn't buy a car. His acolytes would pick him up from the house. His wife had to walk to the grocery store. Stuff like that. Things that were hard on her. And the tragedy was he died prematurely. Somehow, I don't remember how, but she was alive after he passed, and she remarried. And somebody tragically asked him, what's it like being married to, AW versus this person? What's it like? And her tragic response was, AW loved Jesus, and I can't remember his name, but it was called Jay, and Jay loves me.
Wow.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, it's like, gosh, God is so gracious.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have those moments where he's going to wipe that tear off our face when we see stuff like that. I think that's going to be AW's tear.
Yeah.
He's so encountered, but he's just going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that one.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
But marriage, for me in my years in Africa and everything, I've gone through very religious seasons, when I thought my wife was in the way and that she wasn't enabling me to do what I really could be doing. And it was so religious.
Yeah.
And it hard-hearted.
Yeah.
And not cultivating. And it was a time where, you know, the Lord was being gracious with me. And that's the thing is like, man, we all got specs. That's why I'm getting very anti-campy these days.
Yeah.
Because, man, we got specs. AW, he had a big speck in his eye. And we all do. I see it too often. At the same time, I'm not going to condemn myself over it.
Right.
He's so amazing that he reveals this stuff, and it's like, you see it, son. You know, let me work through you.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's not a condemning. It's like, good, you see it. You know, let's cultivate that.
Let's move on. Like, let's deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, and just like, you know, my. Even in ministry life is so much better with my wife being a lens than on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's cool though. I think that there's a underestimation of how beautiful marriage really is and the vital importance that there is in moving in unity. And I'm not saying ministry, I'm saying in life, like cultivating your family and cultivating relationships and cultivating friendships, and there's something pure about it, though.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, just have a presence of kingdom in your own household.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs a ministry? Like, that is it.
Yeah.
You know? And ministry is just furthering kingdom.
That's it.
I don't even remember ministry being mentioned in the New Testament.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, some religious people will find it in the Greek, and I'm just kidding.
Another one of those specs.
That was like, I was just talking to somebody about this. Oh, yeah, this morning I was talking about, like, for me, I think a big shift of my mind, because I was raised, my dad is a Baptist pastor, and so ministry is like your life.
Yeah.
Like, those things are intertwined. They do not separate. You just don't separate it. Which I see the healthy side of that. That was the opposite of healthy. But one of the things I was sharing today or talking through is like, if I don't see it in the New Testament church, in the Acts, in the disciples, in how they lived life, I don't really want it.
No.
Yeah.
It's like they had the purest simplicity of just gathering together and talking about the Lord. And I was like, that's what I truly desire, like that level of connection, whether that's with my spouse, whether that's with my friends, whether that's with my community, is like just the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
And then going out as like the brotherhood.
Yeah.
Laying hands on a few people.
Yeah.
Casting out quite a few demons. Watching principalities fall. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's joyful. To me, that's like exhilarating. That's like way more at rest in living life than like.
It's too bad things go out of style so quickly. I was just thinking about the WWJD.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like a lot of things. Just like you're turmoiled over something. It's like, what's the right path? How should I handle this? And then the question comes like, would Jesus be on board with that?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Right.
Like,
we brought up the WWJD before.
Yeah. I think we're coming back with the bracelets.
I hope
to be
so.
honest.
I mean, it's. I mean, how does that go out of style?
Right.
It's like it really is. It's like it honestly kind of ends a lot of the long turmoil.
Yeah.
It just like one person has to pop the question, could you see that in the life of Jesus? No.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Guess that.
Treating your waiter like crap.
Yeah.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Well, yeah.
It is. That's the simplicity of it, though. And I feel like the disciples, I don't know, maybe I just thought of this, but like the disciples show you how to like live life in relationship to him.
Yeah.
Like just the simplicity of like hanging out with him or whatever. But then after Acts 2, right? Then they showed you what it looks like to live as a family. So like loving God is first in this series, if you will. And then it's like loving people.
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like relationally? And I think that's what Acts is all about. It's like how life is supposed to live relationally. I don't know. But it's powerful if you think about it.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Ancient Way podcast, drop us a like, share with your friends, share with your family. And if you would like to support us and what we are doing, and you would like to play a direct role in our growth and the things that we do in the future,
we have a donation spot at the bottom of our show notes. So you can click on that, give however much you want. We appreciate absolutely everything. We appreciate our listeners. And everybody that's already come alongside and encouraged us, and even everybody that's been on our show. So thanks, guys.